Thank you very much. Okay, have we got our creations ready to show yet? Would you like to bring it up? Okay. Right. Do you want a little bit more time to finish? We can show yours later if you're finishing your masterpiece. Right. Daniel, do you want to go first? Tell us what it is, what you've made. Oh, use the microphone. So it's giraffe. Yep, nice long neck. Oh, well done, you joined a couple together there. That's well done. Kenzie, do you want to go next? Show us your picture. What, can you tell us where it is? Is it somewhere you've been or something you've seen? Or
I've seen like
mountains.
mountains.
Very, very nice. The sun in the sky, nice blue sky. Mountains, wonderful. Thank you very much. And Lois, you can read that out if you wish.
Only comes once a year and you get to spend time with family. Also, after waiting 11 months, you can finally get lots of presents and gifts which you've been hoping for ages, so you can enjoy it and thank others for the best ever gifts you could get every year. You can also just relax the whole day after getting and giving amazing gifts.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. They're all very good. Now, don't wander away yet. Don't wander away yet. Okay, so Daniel, can I just take your giraffe and destroy it? Would you be okay with that? Oh, no, you're not supposed to say yes. Okay, now you can say no to that, can't you? Why can you say no?
Because I took my time to make it.
You made it, and it is your giraffe. So you can say, no, that's not what you're supposed to do with the giraffe. Yep. I mean, has it got some kind of fever? It's very red, but anyway. Kenzie, could I take your picture and put it up in an art gallery and claim it's mine? Oh. Why? Because you made it and no one would believe I'd done it. Because I can't draw. Well done. Lois, can I publish that and pretend it's my description of Christmas? No. Can anybody do that, what you've written? No. Why? Because it's... Yeah, and it's what you've written. You can choose where it's heard, so you could have chosen not to read it as well. And all of that, so that because these are your creations. Yeah? Excellent. Have a seat. We're going to have a think about the Bible verses we've just read and about the big story. Remember, we're talking about the big story. I've lost my Bible. There it is. A big story of the whole Bible. If you want to start to understand the big picture of the whole Bible, where do you think we would need to start? The beginning. So let me turn to the beginning of my Bible. We read some verses from the beginning of the Bible, didn't we? Here's the beginning of one of those verses. I've got the clicker. It says this: in the beginning, God. So not only, if we want to understand the picture of the whole Bible, what's going on, do we need to begin at the beginning? We need to begin with who is at the beginning of the Bible. Who is it? God. We need to begin with God. And now if you were speaking to someone and they asked you, who or what is God like? How might we answer them? Any ideas? Sorry? He is spirit. Well, shall we begin? So what comes next in the verse? In the beginning, God created. And he says the heavens and the earth. So was God created, or did he do the creating? He did the creating. Was he there before everything else? Or did he come after some of it? Before. So if we're asked, what is God like? Well, he is eternal. That means he is forever. No beginning and no end. There was never a time when he didn't exist. Even though there was a time when our planet didn't exist. But he did. He has always been and always will be. He has no beginning and no end. And whereas everything else is a created thing, God alone is self-existent. No one made him. He is independent of all things. And as we were thinking before Christmas, everything depends upon him. All that we know came into existence because he created it. And he did it for a purpose. And so the Bible begins with God and why he made us. The rest of the verse tells us, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, so God made the world. All of it. Every little piece. When God made the world, he spoke, and it came into being. God made day and night. God made the sky. He made the land and the sea and everything in them just by talking. God knows all about what he has made, and he is in charge of his world. And after making each thing, God was happy with what he saw, because what he'd made was good. And because he is the creator and the author of all things, he is worthy of the praise we gave him when we were singing, of the praise we give him when we follow him. I'm going to jump to the other end of my Bible, because we read that verse that was about God being worthy to receive glory and honor and power. He deserves to be sung about. He deserves to be loved and followed, because he is a ruler, a good ruler over his world. But if we begin with God, there are some other creatures that are quite a big part of the world, aren't they? Do you know who they are? People, yeah. So where do we come in then? Well, the second few verses that were read for us say this. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. So God made people. The Bible tells us the first people he made were Adam and Eve. And when God made people, God wanted them to look after his world, to take care of it. Now, in the same way that Daniel's giraffe and Lois's description of Christmas and Margaret and Kenzie's pictures belong to them, the world and Adam and Eve, and therefore all people, belonged to God. So God had every right and was in charge of everything. He made them a beautiful garden to live in, and God knew what they needed, and God looked after them. The garden had food growing there for Adam and Eve to eat, and they could look after that and keep it going as God asked them to. God looked after Adam and Eve in the garden. It was such a beautiful place. But even better, God knew and loved them too. God knew Adam and Eve because he made them. He knew all about them, and he knew how he wanted them to live. God wanted Adam and Eve to obey him, to do what he said, because it was his world, and he knew best how it worked. He gave them one rule: eat from anywhere except this one tree. If they ate from that, the consequences would be deadly. Why would it be a good idea to listen to what God said to them? Well, because God made the world. He knows how it works. He is wise and powerful, and his way is the best. God's in charge. God was in charge in Adam and Eve's time. He knew what was best for them, and that they should obey him. And if they didn't, there would be a punishment. What about us? Well, God made the world, God made Adam and Eve, but God didn't just make Adam and Eve, did he? God made everyone, everywhere. So God made where we live, Richmond, Sheffield, England. God made us. God made everyone, and God knows everyone. And everyone rightfully belongs to him. He made us to belong to him. He knows us, and he knows how he wants us to live. Since God was in charge of Adam and Eve, and God made everyone, so God is in charge of us too. God looks after us. He's given us a beautiful world. We've had some pictures of it already. Let's look at one of those other verses. He made the world. We're going to jump to the middle of the Bible because this picture of whose world it is goes all the way through. We read, or Margaret read for us, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all who live in it. The world belongs to God because he made it, and he made everything in it. People belong to God because God made people. And so we are all made to belong to God. We are all rightfully his. The world and all that is in it belongs to God. So as we thought about your creations, of course you can say how they can be used. Of course you can say what can be done with them, and how to look after them, and how to live with them and make sure that they're right. Because you made it, you're in charge. So who made the world that we live in? God. So who's in charge of the world? God is in the charge of the world because he made it. Every single thing that God created is under his rule. Every creature is under his rule. Every human is under his rule. Even the nations and its rulers and its kings are under God's rule. He is in control. But there's another reason why we need to begin our understanding with him. You see, God knows and loves us. He knew Adam and Eve, he knows us too. And he wants us to live his way because living God's way, is the best way to live. Don't you love it when it works? Because God's way is the best. And the same thing that was true for Adam and Eve is true for us. Disobeying God will mean punishment for us. We're made to be his, and we're made to live his way. And this doesn't make God a cruel or harsh king. Loving fathers and mothers give rules and punishments. God is a loving and kind ruler and knows what is best for his creation. We're going to think later about how things went wrong. They went wrong because people were presented with a lie. That God couldn't be both in authority, couldn't be both king and be loving at the same time. We're going to think about that later. But God can be both loving and a good king at the same time. And living under God's rule is much better than living under anyone else's rule. Because everyone else is imperfect and makes mistakes. But God is perfect. God made us, so God knows us. And he knows how he wants us to live. God wants us all to obey him and to live his way. Oh, hang on, I'm not using that yet, sorry. So God is the loving king of everything he has made. Oh, I am doing that now. Sorry. So let me get my pen. I'll use a different one. So here's what we've thought about so far. God is the loving ruler of the world. You'll see why I can't claim the pictures as mine in a second. He created the world that he is the loving ruler of. And he created mankind, men and women, people, to live in his world. See? Brilliant masterpiece. But to be rulers of the world under him, and to give thanks and honor to him. That's why we read that final verse from Revelation. Because God is worthy to receive glory and honor and power, because he created all things, and by his will they were created and have their being. Now, to help us remember that, we're going to do a little rhyme. Oh, there should be, my little rhyme thing should be next, please. Meanwhile, the song video is playing merrily in the background. I can't remember what I called it now. Oh, something about rhyme, action rhyme. I think it'll be a custom slide. Anyway, it goes like this. There's a few actions. We're going to say God made the world. I'm going to point up and make a large circle. God made the land, so we're going to have to crouch down and touch the floor. He made the sky, so we're going to go back up because we need our exercises. It is January after all. And the sea, so we need some waves. God made people, so you can point to some people. It's rude to point, except this point. And God made me. Okay? So here we go. Oh, it's lost its colour, but never mind. It was going to match the PowerPoint, but never mind. So all together, you want to stand up so we can get the full actions in. Ready? All together, after 3. 1, 2, 3. God made the world, the land, the sky, and the sea. God made people, and God made me. So, God's in charge of the world, the land, the sky, and the sea. God's in charge of people. God's in charge of me. Well, stay standing.